A very good evening and welcome to this Sunday's edition of News First Weekend, coming to you live from our News First studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Should the judiciary interact with the executive? Papua New Guinea's Chief Justice explains.
Judicial independence in that regard is absolute. It cannot be interfered with in any way, in any form whatsoever.
Chairman of the Presidential Commission to investigate into complaints regarding missing persons elaborates on its report. Professor Jayasuriya issues a stern warning against the government.
මම කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ 6 දෙනෙක් දැන් අයින් කරනවා. අමාත්‍යාංශ 11ක ලේකම්වරු මම වහාම ගෙදර යවනවා මට බලයක් තියෙනවා.
Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is on a 5-day official tour of China, engaged in an inspection tour of the port of Chongqing and its container terminal.
Located around 15 kilometers from the city center, the port of Chongqing, which borders the Yangtze River, commenced operations in 2013. The container terminal at the port comprises of 16 jetties and has the capacity of handling over 5,000 tons of cargo at once. During the inspection tour, the Sri Lankan delegation had focused its attention on the possibility of setting up internal ports, such as the port of Chongqing, to further promote Sri Lanka as a shipping and logistics hub in South Asia.
15 Chief Justices from the Asian region signed the Colombo Declaration to uphold the rule of law and independence of the judiciary yesterday.
The declaration was signed on the sidelines of the 29th Golden Jubilee Conference of Law Asia, currently being held in Colombo. Signatories of the declaration are bound to uphold and protect the law for all citizens of the world. A communique issued by Law Asia states that Chief Justices from Sri Lanka, Australia, Bangladesh, China, India, Japan, the Maldives, Malaysia, Myanmar, Pakistan, Guam, Papua New Guinea, Nepal, Thailand and Timor signed the declaration yesterday. Meanwhile, today, on day 3 of the 29th Law Asia Conference, sessions were held on the judiciary and constitutional law. Hosted by the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, the conference saw the attendance of Minister of Justice and Buddha Sasana Vijayadasa Rajpaksha, as well as Supreme and High Court judges from Singapore, Australia and India, and Chief Justices of New South Wales, Australia and Papua New Guinea.
Should the judiciary interact with the executive? Fairly simple question. No, and it is an absolute no, insofar as the judiciary is charged with the duty of performing its judicial function to adjudicate upon cases and make decisions. Judicial independence in that regard is absolute. It cannot be interfered with in any way, in any form whatsoever. And the judiciary, the judges, and the lawyers who are officers of the court must resist and fearlessly resist any form of influence from anyone within or outside the judiciary, and that includes, and especially includes, the parliamentary executive and the parliament for that matter.
News First is a media sponsor for the conference, which is scheduled to conclude tomorrow.
The Presidential Commission to investigate into complaints regarding missing persons has submitted its reports to the Presidential Secretary. Speaking to News First, Chairman of the Commission, Maxwell Paranagama, stated that all documents containing the findings of the Commission are to be handed over to the Office of Missing Persons.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa appointed the Presidential Commission to investigate into complaints regarding missing persons on the 15th of August 2013, as per the recommendations of the Lessons Learned and Reconciliation Commission report. The Presidential Commission to investigate into complaints regarding missing persons, headed by retired High Court Judge Maxwell Paranagama, comprises of 5 committee members and a secretary. The Commission obtained evidence and complaints related to persons missing from 1983 to the 18th of May 2009. The Commission, which travelled to the northern and eastern provinces and 8 districts, recorded 19,000 statements from civilians as evidence.
4,800 complaints were complaints that were made twice. We have received 16,000 complaints. 6,400 of the 16,000 statements were reviewed. 475 of the complaints were forwarded to our investigation team. Investigations have completed into 200 of the 475 complaints and the details have been provided to us. So far we have received concrete information pertaining to a small number of missing persons. We had to carry out further investigations into the 10,000 complaints, but we were unable to do so since the mandate of our commission was not extended on the 15th of July this year. We hope that the Office of Missing Persons, which will be established in the future, will investigate into the remaining 10,000 complaints.
The chairman of the Presidential Commission to investigate into complaints regarding missing persons explained about the recommendations made by the commission.
We have suggested a completely domestic system. When someone is being accused, and if the accused says that he is not guilty and wants to plead his innocence through a court case, then a high court should be established and local judges should be appointed for it. If an accused confesses to the wrongdoing and seeks forgiveness, a Truth and Reconciliation Commission should be established. This does not apply only to the Sri Lanka Army, but should also apply for members of the LTTE and other terrorist groups. We are committed to ensure that the law is practiced when dealing with wrongdoings at the time of the war. If we do not act according to the law, then the UN, based on its provisions, have the authority to investigate if international laws have been violated. In order to avoid such a situation, the Commission has recommended for a domestic system to be established to handle matters pertaining to the wrongdoers.
Convener of the National Movement for a Just Society, Professor Jayasuriya, says that ministers and state officials were not suitable for the good governance government continue to serve in those positions. He made this observation while addressing an event in Yatyanthata to mark the 37th death anniversary of former Minister of Finance, late Dr. N.M. Pereira.
I receive around 10 to 15 calls a day telling me that a friend of Basil Rajapaksa has been appointed as a secretary to a certain ministry, or that a person who was a business associate of Namal Rajapaksa has been appointed as an additional secretary. Is this good governance? Now there is another group emerging from the other direction. They are asking us if we are not aware that the ministers in the new government are stealing. These are complex situations. These cannot exist within good governance. If I had the power, I would remove 6 persons from the cabinet. I have documents of 6 people. These were given to me by various people. If I had the power, I would immediately sack secretaries of 11 prominent ministries.
The memorial organized by the Lanka Samasamaja Party, alternative group, commenced after floral tributes were laid at the statue of the late N.M. Pereira at the Vincent ground in Yatyanthota. An unidentified group had installed pipes close to the statue in an attempt to prevent people from laying floral tributes. Meanwhile, the memorial organized by the Lanka Samasamaja Party was held close to the statue of N.M. Pereira in Rajagiriya.
It is no secret that many countries in the world are now giving priority to renewable energy. However, in Sri Lanka, allegations are being levelled that officials in the energy sector are moving in the opposite direction. I'm presenting a report compiled by officials of the Ceylon Electricity Board together with a representative of the World Bank in a manner which promotes the use of coal in violation of the country's national energy policy is the perfect example to these charges. Here are some of the views expressed in this regard.
You might have seen through the media several mega deals taking place, especially the mega deal at the coal power plant, which is incidentally the biggest scam in Sri Lankan history. When some other source of energy is recommended in place of coal, they say no to that and order that coal be brought down anyway. This is rather astonishing. I did not know coal tasted so good. The colleagues of the current leaders have a newfound taste for coal. They only get commissions when they bring down coal, which is why they want coal somehow. So when the media shows this, they are growled at. They reprimand the media in an attempt to suppress democracy.
A simple helping hand can provide much needed relief to hundreds of lives. Today, we at Newsfirst understand this firsthand. We were able to provide assistance to a group of villagers today who have undergone untold hardships for nearly 15 years due to a dilapidated culvert.
Gamadda 100-day initiative. A small shortage has a small impact on the political leadership, but it has a big impact on us. Chili supplied from this area amounts to half of the local consumption. The vegetables we produce become rotten when we cannot transport it to the market on time due to the dilapidated state of this bridge.
The Indarogaswava culvert, which is used by nearly 2,500 families, has not been renovated for 15 years, causing grave hardships to the villagers. The people, whose lives are intertwined with agriculture, face numerous difficulties when transporting their harvest to the markets.
The only way to access our China cultivations is from this culvert. We travel to a certain point in a vehicle and then make the rest of the journey by foot.
Newsfirst, which understood the problems of the area residents, began renovating this culvert with a sponsorship by businessman Ajit Vijayatunga. Renovation work commenced under the Gammadda 100-day initiative.
When we visit villages, not a single public representative is present. When we travel through a certain town in Kandy, we arrive in Kurunagala. Necessary allocations have been made for proper roads, but the roads have not been constructed. This has been the case for 30 to 35 years. When driving, you can only move forward on these paths. You cannot reverse the vehicle. We entered from Ankumura and came out from Kurunagala. We saw the tarred roads in the town, but the paths we travelled on are danger traps. When it rains, the pathway transforms into a waterway. Sirasa has a good heart. It has a heartbeat. Sirasa is an exemplary media institution. It is Sirasa which began everything, which were eventually copied by others. We need to mention this fact. If Sirasa says it would do something, it would do it. Do you know the children who are in the Montessori in Devanava? When they need to gain power, they would say one thing, and once they obtain power, they would say another thing. But Sirasa is different. Sirasa was with the people then, with the people today, and will be with the people tomorrow.
The project implemented under Newsfirst Gammadda 100-day initiative is the 6th project to be initiated in the Thanamal Village Divisional Secretariat Zone.
We are truly happy. Although we may not use this road that is being constructed by Sirasa, our children will be able to use it. We are grateful to Sirasa.
I bow my head in respect to Sirasa for coming to our village and carrying out this initiative.
The locals humbly bowed their heads in respect to Sirasa to express the immense happiness in their hearts as their hopes have now materialized through the Newsfirst Gammadda 100-day initiative. Newsfirst hopes to initiate another 3 projects in the Thanamal Village Divisional Secretariat Zone under the Newsfirst Gammadda 100-day initiative.
We will be commencing another 2 projects tomorrow. One is the commencing of construction work of the Degal Ara Community Hall, and the second is to supply drinking water, which is a joint project with the Sri Lanka Navy in Kahakurulan Palasa.
4 projects commenced under the Newsfirst Gammadda 100-day initiative have been completed and handed over to the public. The Dambulda Damanayaya Road, which had not been renovated for 2 decades, was renovated and vested in the public. A signal lamp post was constructed under the Newsfirst Gammadda 100-day initiative in the Vallamoya area in Chilau, an area from which around 5,000 fishing vessels set out to sea. Patalaya Gama in Kaliyapura, Hambantota, which was plagued by the wild elephant conflict, was provided a 3-kilometer long electric fence. 3 water projects in Hambegamwa, a water project initiated under the Newsfirst Gammadda 100-day initiative with the intervention of the Presidential Task Force on Prevention of Chronic Kidney Disease and the Sri Lanka Navy, was completed and handed over to the public. Providing clean drinking water to the Hambegamwa Secondary School and the Hambegamwa Base Hospital. It took less than a month for these projects to be completed and handed over to the public under the Newsfirst Gammadda 100-day initiative. Renovating roads that have not been developed, providing clean drinking water to the public, which is a basic human need, providing sanitary facilities, and creating a knowledgeable generation through the creation of libraries are few of the many projects underway across the island. These projects will be completed soon under the Newsfirst Gammadda 100-day initiative and vested in the public.
People who live in villages located far from the cities spend the night in fear for their lives due to the threat of wild elephants. Bearing testament to these fears, yet another precious life was lost to a wild elephant attack last night in Thanaman village.
He was the only one who was there for me. Now I'm left with no one. I lost my eldest son. It is because of these elephants that we are left with no place to live.
This mother sheds tears mourning the death of her eldest son, who fell victim to a wild elephant attack last night. The 40-year-old victim, who was a resident of the Migasweba village in Thanamal villa in Hambantota, was attacked by a wild elephant when he was en route to a neighboring house. He was a father of 4. His youngest daughter was just 7 months old.
Sometimes we feel that it is better to die. We are so sad about these children.
These helpless people have no place to live. It is the area politicians who must take full responsibility. They obtain our votes and leave. They have no regard for the needs of the people. Why can't they secure this area so that both people and elephants can live without any problem? Meanwhile, several deaths were reported during the past few weeks from neighboring villagers. On the 27th of July, an 8-year-old girl from the Anandapura area in Balaharo was killed by a wild elephant while she was on her way to school. A 52-year-old father of 3 from the Athulebawa area in Vallavaya was another victim of a wild elephant attack that took place on the 9th of this month. On the 11th of this month, the life of a 42-year-old mother of 1 from the Mihgajadura area in Suryawa was taken away by a wild elephant.
Officials of the Department of Wildlife Conservation were able to capture a wild elephant who was a threat to the residents of Ipologama. Here is a report on the incident filed by a Newsfirst reporter.
A wild elephant who was a threat to the residents of Maneva, Katiyava, Puliyankulama and their cultivations was captured today following a 3-day operation. Officials of the wildlife units in Ganavelpura, Anuradhapura and Ampara together with the locals in the areas were able to capture the wild elephant this morning. The wildlife officers stated that the elephant will be taken to the elephant sanctuary in Horopatana.
Newsfirst.lk reporter Prasad Namal Mardan Kadole City.
Welcome back here with News First. Minister of Housing and Construction Sajid Premdas says he believes that the incumbent government has protected the independence of the judiciary.
We did not reprimand the judiciary, nor did we find fault with it. We did not bring no confidence motions against judges. Can you see the difference? During the previous government, they presented the Devi Nagama bill to Parliament, and just because the former Chief Justice imposed conditions on it for it to be passed, what did they do to her? They sent her home. Back then, court decisions were written at temple trees and at the President's house. I say this without any fear. We are implementing good governance in a fair and just manner. President Maithripala Sirisena or Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe will never govern the country thinking about their family only. Minister Premadasa expressed his views at an event in Angunakola Palace today to provide concessionary housing loans to low-income families in the Hambantota district under the Samara Sevana program.
Will the Sri Lanka Freedom Party MPs representing the joint opposition attend the SLFP party convention? Now, this has been a topic which has caught the attention of many in political circles. UPFA parliamentarian Lohan Ratwath expressed his views in this regard in a media briefing held in Kandy yesterday.
I don't hold any personal grudges against the President or those in the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, but politicians need to have a policy. Up until today, we have not received even a letter informing us about the party convention. So just because this was mentioned in newspapers, we cannot go there by force and sit and wait without being officially informed. We will join them only if all of us can get together and form an SLFP-led government.
State Minister of Finance Lakshmanya Pabewardena says that it is the duty of party members to reject the program aimed at breaking the party apart and move forward. The minister expressed these views during a media briefing organised today.
We hope that the path of the SLFP will change towards a new path after the party convention. It is the duty of all party members to reject the program aimed at breaking the party apart and moving forward. Now they are regretting their actions. The Central Working Committee of the party has the authority to investigate into misconduct and reach a decision on the party membership. They have the power to suspend membership. Members of the party against whom a decision has been reached will not be invited. Everyone else will be. This decision was reached by President Maithripala Sirisena and the Central Committee.
අතිගරු ජනාධිපති මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන මැතිතුමත් පක්ෂයේ මධ්‍යමකාර ස්වභාවත් තීන්දුව කළා තියෙනවා.
State Minister of Skills Development and Vocational Training Palitha Range Bandara commented on the actions of the joint opposition MPs in Parliament recently.
The parliamentarians of the so-called joint gang entered the well of Parliament and did not allow the bill to pass. What did they do afterwards? They started singing.
එන්න එපා කීවට අපි ආවා මැද්දට කන්න එපා කීවට අපි කෑවනේ ජරාව දේශියාචි හිටියට දෙන්නේ නෑනේ හැමතෙම දෙන්නම එකම කොල්ලට ඒ යෝසිත පුතාට දැන් මේ වගේ සින්දු කීක ගීත ගායන කරන
Mahinda Rajapaksa is the only leader after Don Yuan Dharmapala to hand over land belonging to our country to someone else. The state minister expressed these views during a function held to begin renovation work on the Thabbova Mailankulama main road.
The remains of former national cricketer and the chairman of the Galle Cricket Club, Halabage Premasiri, who was shot dead by two unidentified gunmen, was brought to his residence last night.
Colombo Declaration was killed in a shooting that occurred at around 8:45 p.m. on Friday in the Manimulla area in Ambalangoda. The incident took place while 53-year-old Halambage was returning home in a jeep from his business establishment. The victim's 12-year-old son, who had also been in the vehicle at the time of the shooting, was hospitalized with serious injuries. He returned home today after receiving treatment. He helped sports clubs. His last wish was to build an international sports ground in Ambalangoda. We worked together to get to this status. It is out of jealousy that they killed my brother. The final rites of Halambage Premasiri will be performed at the Ambalangoda Public Cemetery tomorrow.
Director General of UNESCO Ariya arrived in the island on her first official visit to Sri Lanka.
The Director General, who arrived last night, will tour in the island until the 17th of this month. Ariya Bokova, who took office in 2009, is the first woman to be appointed as the Director General of UNESCO. She is scheduled to give a lecture on soft power for peace and development on Tuesday in Colombo. The Director General and her delegation also visited Sigiriya and Polonnaruwa today. Ariya Bokova is also scheduled to hold bilateral discussions with President Maithripala Sirisena and several ministers during her stay.
Sri Lanka has 8 sites on the World Heritage List, all equally very relevant and showing the rich history, the long history. For UNESCO it is very important to protect, to preserve it, to pass it to the new generation. Sri Lanka is on the path of reconciliation, of development, of peace. We do believe that culture and heritage can play a hugely important role into this process.
The 70th Independence Day of Pakistan was celebrated in Colombo this morning. A flag-hoisting ceremony was held at the High Commission of Pakistan in Colombo in line with the Independence Day of Pakistan, which falls on the 14th of August. The ceremony was held under the auspices of Chief Justice of Pakistan, Anwar Zahir Jamali. Speaking at the event, the Pakistani High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, retired Major General Said Shaki Hussain, said that economic cooperation with peaceful resolution of disputes will pave the way for a promising future for not just the South Asian region, but also for the world at large. Pakistan commemorated the day after it achieved independence and was declared a sovereign nation following the end of the British Raj in 1947. With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Weekend Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.